Let me ask you something. Are you ready? I mean, really ready? Because after March 27, 2025, the world won't be the same. Some people feel it in the air, some see the signs, and some are just too busy to notice. But let me tell you this, God notices. He sees who's standing and who's folding. He sees who's praying and who's playing. He sees who's all in and who's just halfway there. And after that day, that line is going to be clearer than ever. Some will rise, some will fall. And the question is, where will you stand? Because let's be honest, being a Christian today, it's not easy. You will be tested. You will be judged. You will be called names. They'll tell you, calm down with all that faith stuff. It's old-fashioned. It's unnecessary. But you listen to me, God is never unnecessary. The world is changing at a pace that many people can barely keep up with. Every day there is something new, something different, something that challenges what we once knew to be true. But in the midst of all this, one question stands above the rest. Are you ready? Ready for what's coming? Ready for the trials? Ready for the tests? Ready for the moment when you will have to decide once and for all where you stand, because whether you realize it or not, the time is coming. And when it does, hesitation won't be an option. Being ready isn't just about knowing that something is coming, it's about preparing yourself in a way that when the moment arrives, you don't have to scramble, you don't have to guess, and you don't have to wonder. You will know exactly where you stand, you will know exactly who you serve, you will know exactly what to do. Because preparation is everything, and those who are unprepared, they will be the ones who fall. They will be the ones who break. They will be the ones who thought they had time, thought they could wait, thought they could figure it out later, only to realize that later has arrived. And they are not ready. Now look around you, look at the world, look at what is happening. Do you really believe that things are just going to keep going the way they always have? Do you really believe that the pressures, the challenges, the conflicts we are seeing are random, that they mean nothing, that they don't point to something greater? Because if you do, you are asleep. And this is the time to wake up. This is the time to open your eyes, open your heart, and start preparing for what is to come. Readiness is not a feeling, it is not an idea. It is a state of being, it is a mindset, it is a decision that you make every single day, and it is not something that happens by accident. You don't become ready by mistake, you become ready through discipline, through focus, through intentionality, through commitment. Because if you are not actively preparing, you are actively slipping. If you are not actively strengthening yourself, you are actively weakening. There is no in-between. There is no middle ground. There is no space where you can just sit and wait, because waiting is losing, and losing is not an option. So what does it mean to be ready? It means having a foundation that cannot be shaken. It means standing on truth so solid that no lie can move you. It means knowing who you are so deeply that no pressure, no criticism, no attack can make you question it. It means having a faith that is unbreakable, unshakable, undeniable. A faith that stands tall in the middle of the storm, that does not bow when the winds blow, that does not crumble when the fire gets hotter. And make no mistake, the fire is coming. The winds will blow, the storm will rise. And those who are not ready, they will not make it. They will be caught off guard, they will be shaken, and they will fall. But those who have prepared, those who have trained, those who have built their foundation on something that cannot be moved, they will stand. They will endure. They will be victorious. You see, many people think they are ready simply because they believe, but belief is not enough. Belief is only the beginning. You cannot just say you believe, you have to walk it. You have to live it. You have to breathe it. Because when the pressure comes, it will not be your words that save you. It will be the strength of what you have built inside you. It will be the depth of your preparation. It will be the foundation that you have laid long before the battle ever arrived. Think about a soldier. A soldier does not wait until the war begins to start training. A soldier does not wait until the enemy is at the gates to start preparing. A soldier is always ready, always aware, always in position, because they know that the moment the battle starts, it is too late to prepare. They know that when the fight comes to them, they have to be able to stand and fight immediate, no hesitation, no doubt, no fear, because hesitation is defeat, doubt is weakness, fear is the enemy, and they do not have time for any of it. So why would you live any differently? Why would you assume that you can wait until the moment arrives to start getting yourself ready? Why would you assume that you will just figure it out when the time comes? That is not how it works. That is not how you win. That is not how you survive. If you are not ready before the moment arrives, you will not be ready at all. And what does readiness require? It requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires making choices that others will not understand. It requires saying no to distractions, saying no to the things that waste your time, saying no to the things that weaken you instead of strengthen you. It requires focus. It requires commitment. It requires an unwavering dedication to the path you are walking. Because make no mistake, there will be distractions. There will be voices trying to pull you away. There will be moments where it would be so much easier to just give in, to just go along with the crowd, to just do what everyone else is doing. But if you do that, you will not be ready. If you allow yourself to be swayed, to be pulled, to be weakened, then when the time comes, you will not have the strength to stand. And that is exactly what the enemy wants. Because the enemy knows who is ready and who is not. The enemy can see who is standing strong and who is barely holding on. And the enemy will come for those who are weak first. The enemy will test those who are unsure. The enemy will attack those who have not built their foundation strong enough to withstand it. Because that is how the battle is won, not by facing the strong, but by picking off the weak. And if you do not want to be weak, then you must prepare. You must train. You must strengthen yourself every single day. Because the time is coming when you will have to stand. The time is coming when you will have to make a choice. The time is coming when you will have to prove once and for all where you stand. And when that time comes, there will be no more preparation. There will be no more training. There will only be action. There will only be the moment. And in that moment, you will either be ready or you will not. So I ask you again, are you ready? Not in theory, not in words, not in feelings, but in action. In truth, in strength. Are you ready to stand when the world tells you to sit? Are you ready to believe when everything around you tries to make you doubt? Are you ready to endure when the fire gets hotter, when the pressure gets stronger, when the storm gets worse? Because that is what it will take. That is what will be required. That is what will separate those who make it from those who do not. And if you are not ready, then now is the time, now is the moment, not tomorrow, not next week, not someday, because someday is too late. Someday never comes. Someday is an excuse, and excuses will not save you. Excuses will not protect you. Excuses will not prepare you. Only action will, only discipline will, only true, unwavering, undeniable faith will. So, that Christ's Son, hope is bleak, that you have more time than you do, because the time is approaching. And what is approaching, but is approaching. And when it does, you will either be ready or you will not. God sees everything, every action, every thought, every decision. Nothing escapes His eyes. There is no hiding from Him, no secret so deep, no motive so well concealed that He does not know it. People can put on a show, they can wear a mask, they can convince the world of one thing while living another. But God knows the truth. He knows who stands and who folds. He knows who is faithful and who is faking. He knows who walks in light and who only pretends to. There are those who speak about faith but live in fear. There are those who quote scripture but do not follow it. There are those who lift their hands in worship but lower their standards when no one is watching. And in a world that is shifting, in a time when everything is being tested, that kind of double life will not survive. The pressure will expose it. The fire will reveal it. Because when everything is on the line, when belief is not just a word but a test, when faith is not just something you say but something you must prove, who you really are will come to the surface. God is not fooled. People might be fooled. People might be impressed by appearances, by status, by words that sound good but mean nothing. But God is not like people. God does not judge by what is seen, by what is projected, by what is rehearsed. He judges by the heart. He sees past the surface, past the image, past the presentation, and straight into the reality of who a person is. And when the moment comes, when the pressure rises, when the fire gets hotter, that truth will be undeniable. Some people think they can stand in both places. They think they can keep one foot in faith and the other in the world. They think they can speak about righteousness while still indulging in what they know is wrong. They think they can adjust their beliefs to fit what is convenient to avoid conflict, to stay comfortable. But faith that bends under pressure is not faith at all. Faith that shifts to fit the moment is not faith, it is performance. And God does not bless performance. God does not strengthen what is false. So what happens when God sees someone standing firm? What happens when He looks at someone and finds them unshaken, unwavering, unafraid? He strengthens them. He elevates them. He pours into them because He knows they can be trusted. He knows they will not fold. He knows they are real, and real faith, uncompromising faith, will always be tested. Not because God wants to see you fail, but because God wants to make you stronger. Pressure does not destroy real faith, it refines it. It burns away what is weak, it strips away what is unnecessary, it removes what does not belong so that only what is true remains. And that is why those who are truly standing must be ready. Because if you are truly standing, you will be tested, you will be challenged, you will be put in situations where the easy option is to fold, where the comfortable option is to compromise, where the popular option is to blend in. But standing means choosing the hard way when necessary. It means choosing the narrow road, the road that not everyone is willing to walk. The question is, can you keep standing when you are the only one left? Can you keep believing when everyone else starts to doubt? Can you keep trusting when everything around you tells you to give up? Because that is where true faith is proven. Not when it is easy, not when there is applause, not when there is approval, but when it costs something, when it requires sacrifice, when it means standing alone. The world has a way of exposing what is real and what is not. And after a certain point, there is no more pretending. There is no more blending in. There is no more avoiding the decision. Because at some point, the lines become clear. And in that moment, God will see exactly where you stand. Not where you say you stand, not where you pretend to stand. And do not think that this moment is far off. The shift is already happening, the division is already forming, the pressure is already building. Look around, see what is happening. People are being forced to make choices. People are having to decide whether they will compromise or remain faithful. And some are choosing faith, but many are folding. Many are deciding that standing is too hard, too risky, too costly. But God is watching. He is watching who stands and who folds. He is watching who fights and who flees. He is watching who stays faithful and who turns back. And for those who remain, for those who endure, for those who do not bow, there is a strength that is coming. There is a power that will rise up in them. There is a victory that is already written. Because those who truly stand, those who refuse to bend, those who hold firm even when everything is against them, they are the ones who will see what others never will. Faith is not about popularity. Faith is not about ease. Faith is about endurance. It is about standing even when it is hard, even when it hurts, even when it costs you something. Because anything that is real will be tested. And if your faith has never been tested, then it has never been proven. There will come a time when words will not be enough, when saying the right thing will not be enough, when quoting scripture will not be enough. Because at some point the choice will not be spoken, it will be lived. And when that time comes, when the pressure is undeniable, when the fire is real, God will see who stands and who folds. He will see who truly belongs to Him and who is only pretending. The truth is, many people think they are ready. Many people assume they will stand when the time comes. But assumption is not preparation. Assumption is not strength. Strength is built. Readiness is developed. It is not something that happens automatically. It is something that happens through discipline, through dedication, through daily commitment. And those who are not preparing now will not be ready later. Because when the fire comes, when the choice is no longer a theory but a reality, there will be no time to build faith in that moment. Faith must be built before the test arrives. Strength must be developed before the weight is put on your shoulders. And if you have not built it, if you have not prepared, then when the moment comes, you will not stand. You will fold, and God will see it. But for those who have prepared, for those who have trained, for those who have spent time building themselves up, developing their strength, deepening their faith, there will be no fear in that moment. There will be no hesitation. There will be no doubt. Because they will not have to wonder if they are ready. They will know. And that is the difference between those who stand and those who fold. One group assumes, the other prepares. One group hopes they will be strong enough, the other knows they are. And God sees that difference. He sees who is real. He sees who is ready. He sees who can be trusted when the pressure is high and the stakes are real. That is why now is the time to decide. Now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to strengthen yourself, because the moment will come. The test will arrive. The fire will burn. And when it does, there will be no more hiding, no more pretending, no more performing. There will only be truth, and God will see it all. Faith is not just something you say. It is not just something you claim. It is something that must be proven. Too many people walk around thinking that belief alone is enough, that saying the right words, going to the right places, and associating with the right people will make them strong. But faith that is never tested is not real faith. It is an idea, a concept, a decoration that looks good on the surface but has no depth underneath. And when the time comes, when the fire gets hotter, when the pressure gets stronger, that kind of faith will not stand. It will collapse under the weight of reality, because it was never built to endure. The truth is, everything that is real must be tested. Strength is tested through resistance. Endurance is tested through struggle. Integrity is tested through temptation. And faith is tested through trials. Faith is tested through adversity, through difficulty, through situations that demand proof rather than empty words. Because it is easy to have faith when there is no cost attached to it. It is easy to say you believe when there is no consequence for that belief. But when believing costs you something, when standing in faith requires sacrifice, when choosing God means rejecting comfort, that is when the truth comes out. People want faith to be convenient. They want it to fit into their lives without disrupting anything, without requiring too much, without making things difficult. But real faith is not convenient. Real faith is not something you add to your life. It is something that transforms your life. It changes the way you think, the way you act, the way you respond to pressure. It shifts your priorities, your mindset, your decisions. It does not conform to the world. It challenges the world, and because of that, the world pushes back. That is why faith is proven through action. It is proven through the way you respond when things do not go as planned. It is proven through the way you stand when everything around you is shaking. It is proven through the way you refuse to bow even when the pressure is intense. Because the reality is, faith that never faces resistance is faith that has never been tested. And faith that has never been tested is not faith at all. It is hope without foundation. It is words without weight. Think about a tree. A tree that grows in perfect conditions with no wind, no storms, no struggle, may look strong on the outside, but its roots are shallow. Its foundation is weak. And the first time a real storm comes, the first time the wind pushes against it with force, that tree falls. Not because it was never meant to stand, but a tree that has been through storms, a tree that has had to dig its roots deep, a tree that has learned to endure the pressure, that tree does not fall when the wind comes. That tree remains. That tree is unshaken. Faith works the same way. If it is never tested, it is never strengthened. If it is never challenged, it never grows. That is why people who avoid difficulty, who run from trials, who do everything they can to stay comfortable will always have weak faith. They will always struggle to stand when things get hard. They will always hesitate when the moment of decision comes, because they never allowed themselves to be strengthened through the process. They never let their roots grow deep. They never accepted that faith is not just something you say, it is something you prove. And how do you prove it? By standing firm when it would be easier to give in. by holding on to truth when lies are more acceptable, by refusing to compromise when the world offers you an easier path, by trusting God when everything around you tells you to panic. Because faith is not about avoiding storms, it is about standing in them. Faith is not about escaping pressure, it is about enduring it. Faith is not about words, it is about action. Look at the people who have truly walked in faith, the ones who have seen miracles, the ones who have experienced God's power in ways that cannot be explained. None of them got there by accident. None of them stumbled into it. They had to fight for it. They had to endure. They had to prove that their faith was real. And because they did, they were strengthened. They were elevated. They were transformed. Because God does not build strong people in easy situations. He builds them through trials, through challenges, through moments where faith is the only thing that will get them through. That is why so many people fail when the pressure comes. They never built their faith before the test arrived. They never prepared. They thought they could wait until the moment came that they would figure it out when they needed to, but by then it was too late. Because when the moment arrives, when the fire is burning, when the choice is before you, you will not have time to build faith in that instant. You will only have what you have already built. And that is why now is the time to prove it. Not when the world is watching, not when the pressure is high, not when the stakes are already set, but now, in the small decisions, in the private battles, in the moments when no one else is looking. Because if you cannot prove your faith in the small things, you will not stand in the big things. If you cannot walk in truth when there is little resistance, you will fold when the real pressure comes. Faith is not passive. It is not something you hold quietly, waiting for the right moment to use it. Faith is active. It is a force that must be exercised, that must be strengthened, that must be proven over and over again. And every time it is tested, every time it is put under pressure, it has the opportunity to grow, but only if you are willing to stand. Only if you are willing to hold firm, only if you are willing to prove that what you say you believe is not just words, it is truth. And the thing about truth is, it does not change just because it is inconvenient. It does not bend just because it is unpopular. It does not weaken just because the world demands it. Truth is truth, no matter the cost. And faith that is based on truth does not break under pressure. It does not crumble in the fire. It does not disappear when it is tested. It proves itself. It strengthens itself. It stands tall no matter what comes against it. People will say they have faith until it requires them to stand alone. People will say they believe until belief costs them something. People will declare their devotion until devotion demands sacrifice. And in that moment, when the decision is no longer just words, but action, the truth is revealed. Some will stand and some will fold. Some will hold firm and some will retreat. Some will prove that their faith was real, and others will expose that it was never more than word. That is why now is the time to decide. Now is the time to prove that faith is not just an idea to you. It is not just something you say. It is something that defines you, something that moves you, something that will not change no matter what pressure comes against it. Because the pressure is coming, the test will arrive, the moment will come when words will not be enough. And in that moment, faith will be proven or it will fail. And when that moment comes, there will be no excuses. There will be no second chances to prepare. There will only be what is real, and what is real will remain. Fear is a weapon, and it has been used since the beginning of time to control, to manipulate, to weaken. It is subtle. creeping in through uncertainty, through doubt, through whispers of what could happen, what might happen, what should be avoided at all costs. Fear does not need to be loud to be powerful. It does not need to be violent to be effective. All it needs is an open door, a small crack in faith, a moment of hesitation, because the moment a person begins to question, the moment they start to look at the storm instead of the one who controls it, fear takes over. And fear is deceptive. It disguises itself as wisdom, as caution, as responsibility. It convinces people that standing down is the same as standing strong, that keeping quiet is the same as keeping peace, that stepping back is the same as staying safe. But fear does not lead to safety. It leads to surrender. Fear does not protect, it paralyzes. It does not keep people from harm. It keeps them from purpose. And too many people have lost their purpose because they have given in to fear. The world operates on fear. It pushes it through news, through media, through voices of authority that claim to know what is best. It tells people that standing for truth is dangerous, that speaking against the flow will cost them everything, that stepping outside the boundaries of what is acceptable will lead to ruin. And so people comply, they lower their voices, they blend in, they compromise little by little, not realizing that every step taken in fear is a step away from faith. Fear does not come from God, it never has and it never will, because God does not call people to be weak, to be silent, to be afraid of the world He created. He calls people to be bold, to be strong, to walk in confidence knowing that they do not stand alone. But fear convinces people otherwise. It makes them believe that they are alone, that they are too weak, too small, too insignificant to make a difference. It magnifies the opposition and minimizes the power of God. And when that happens, when fear becomes bigger than faith, people stop walking in purpose. Look at history. Look at the ones who changed the world, the ones who stood when everyone else bowed, the ones who spoke when everyone else stayed silent. They were not without fear, they were not immune to doubt, but they refused to be controlled by it. They understood that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to submit to it. It is the decision to move forward even when everything in the natural world says to stop. And that is the difference between those who live in faith and those who live in fear. One sees the obstacles and stops. The other sees the obstacles and keeps walking. And what happens when fear is allowed to rule? What happens when people let it control their choices, their words, their actions? They become prisoners. Not in a physical sense, but in their minds, in their spirits. They become bound by imaginary chains, shackled by worries that may never come to pass, controlled by forces that were never meant to have power over them. And the most dangerous thing about fear is that it does not need to be forced upon someone. If it is accepted, it does all the work on its own. It will keep a person from stepping out, from taking risks, from obeying God, from fulfilling their purpose, all without ever physically restraining them. That is why fear is a weapon. It is why it is used so often. It is why it is pushed so aggressively, because nothing stops a person faster than fear. Nothing shuts down faith quicker than doubt. Nothing silences truth more effectively than the threat of consequence. But here is what so many people miss. Fear only has power when it is believed. It only controls those who let it. It only stops those who choose to submit to it instead of to God. The enemy knows this. He has known it since the beginning. He used it in the garden, planting the idea that God was withholding something, that there was something to be afraid of. He used it throughout history, convincing kings and leaders to oppress, to silence, to eliminate anyone who stood in faith. And he still uses it today, not always through force, not always through outright persecution, but through small, subtle compromises, through whispers of doubt, through pressures to conform, through distractions that shift focus away from truth and onto fear. And too many people have fallen for it. Too many have let fear dictate their decisions. Too many have chosen comfort over conviction, safety over strength, compliance over courage. But the ones who refuse, the ones who stand, the ones who recognize fear for what it is and refuse to bow to it, those are the ones who walk in power. Those are the ones who see what others never will. Those are the ones who break free from the chains that hold so many back. Because fear is just that, a chain. It binds, it restricts, it keeps people from moving forward, from growing, from becoming who they were meant to be. But chains can be broken, fear can be overcome. And the moment someone decides that they will not be ruled by it, that they will not let it dictate their choices, that they will not allow it to shape their future, they step into a level of strength that cannot be shaken. Because fear may be powerful, but faith is stronger. Fear may be loud, but truth is louder. Fear may push hard, but the power of God pushes hard. And that is why fear must be faced. It cannot be ignored. It cannot be avoided. It must be confronted head on, because the only way to break free from it is to step through it. The only way to silence its voice is to speak louder. The only way to overcome it is to refuse to let it win. And that takes faith. That takes confidence. That takes the kind of strength that does not come from human ability, but from knowing who is in control. The world will always use fear. It will always try to intimidate, to pressure, to manipulate. That will never change. But what can change is the response. What can change is the choice to stand firm, to hold on to truth, to refuse to be moved by threats or uncertainties. Because fear has no real power over those who choose faith. It cannot shake those who are grounded. It cannot stop those who are determined. It cannot break those who have already decided that nothing will turn them away from what they know is right. That is why the battle against fear is not just about overcoming emotions. It is about deciding who is in control. Is it fear or is it faith? Is it the voices of the world or is it the voice of God? Because whatever is given authority will take control. Whatever is fed will grow stronger. And if fear is fed, if it is entertained, if it is allowed to take root, it will spread. But if faith is fed, if it is strengthened, if it is chosen over and over again, then fear loses its grip. That is why now is the time to choose. Now is the time to decide that fear will not win. Now is the time to break the cycle of hesitation, of second guessing, of stepping back when stepping forward is what is needed. Because there will come a moment when the choice will no longer be theoretical, when fear will demand submission, when compromise will seem like the only option. And in that moment, those who have already decided, those who have already chosen faith over fear will not be shaken. They will not back down. They will not surrender, because they will have already won the battle in their minds, in their hearts, in their spirits, and fear will have no power over them. There is a cost to standing for truth, a real cost. It is not something that can be avoided, not something that can be negotiated, not something that can be minimized. It is the price that must be paid by anyone who refuses to compromise, anyone who refuses to bow, anyone who refuses to trade their convictions for comfort. And the question is not whether there will be a cost. The question is whether you are willing to pay it. The world does not reward those who stand for truth. It does not celebrate them, does not elevate them, does not make life easier for them. It resists them. It pushes against them. It tries to wear them down, to silence them, to break them. Because truth is disruptive. It does not fit into the world's system, does not go along with the agenda, does not make people comfortable. And when something disrupts the system fights back. And that is where the cost comes in. That is where the pressure starts to build. That is where the decision must be made. Because standing for truth will separate you. It will set you apart. It will make you different, make you noticeable, make you a target. And there will be voices telling you to stop, to blend in, to lower your voice, to go with the flow, because it is easier. There will be pressure to compromise, to find common ground, to soften the message, to make it more acceptable, more palatable, more in line with what people want to hear. But truth is not meant to be molded to fit the world. The world is meant to conform to the truth. Look at history. Look at the ones who refused to compromise, the ones who stood in faith no matter the cost. They were not celebrated in their time. They were not honored. They were rejected, ridiculed, persecuted, cast out. They lost relationships, lost opportunities, lost their standing in society. Some lost their freedom, some lost their lives. But what they never lost was their integrity. What they never lost was their faith. What they never lost was the knowledge that they had chosen what was right over what was easy, what was true over what was comfortable, what was eternal over what was temporary. And that is the real question. What is worth more? Temporary comfort or eternal truth? What is more valuable? The approval of people or the approval of God? Because those two things will not always align. There will be moments when choosing truth means losing favor, when standing firm means losing friends, when refusing to compromise means losing opportunities. And when that moment comes, when the choice is in front of you, there will be no room for hesitation. There will only be the decision, will you pay the cost? Because the cost is coming. The world is not becoming more accepting of truth. It is becoming more resistant, more hostile, more aggressive in its opposition. The pressure to compromise is not decreasing, it is increasing. The demand to conform is not weakening, and those who are not prepared, those who have not settled in their hearts what they believe and why they believe it, will find themselves wavering, find themselves bending, find themselves justifying small compromises until they have drifted so far from truth that they do not even recognize where they started. That is why the cost must be counted now. That is why the decision must be made now. Because when the moment comes, it will not be easy. It will not be convenient. It will not come at a time when you feel strong and ready. It will come when you least expect it, when you are tired, when you are vulnerable, when you are caught off guard. And in that moment, you will not have time to build faith, will not have time to strengthen your resolve. You will only have what you have already prepared. And preparation requires sacrifice. It requires letting go of the need for approval, letting go of the fear of rejection, letting go of the idea that standing for truth will come without a cost. It requires embracing the reality that following God, truly following Him, will set you apart. It will make you different. It will put you in opposition to the world. And the world does not take kindly to those who do not bow to its system. Look around. Look at the ones who have been celebrated, the ones who have been lifted up, the ones who have been given platforms, given influence, given favor. Many of them did not get there because they stood for truth. They got there because they went along with what was expected, because they stayed silent when they should have spoken, because they compromised when standing firm would have cost them something, and when the pressure increased, when the stakes got higher, they did not resist. They adjusted. They conformed. They traded their convictions for acceptance, their integrity for influence, their truth for a more comfortable lie. But those who refuse to compromise, those who refuse to conform, those who refuse to bow, will face the consequences. And the world will try to break them. It will try to intimidate them, try to isolate them, try to make them believe that standing alone means they are wrong, that holding firm means they are foolish, that refusing to bend means they will be left behind. And that is where the battle is fought, not in physical confrontation, not in open war, but in the mind, in the spirit, in the quiet moments when the temptation to take the easy road is strongest. Because it would be easier. It would be easier to step back, to stay quiet, to go with the flow. It would be easier to avoid conflict, to avoid controversy, to avoid the risk that comes with standing firm. But the easy road does not lead to purpose. The easy road does not lead to strength. The easy road does not lead to truth. It leads to compromise, to weakness, to a slow and steady surrender, to a system that was never meant to have control. And the ones who recognize that, the ones who understand the cost and are willing to pay it, they will be the ones who remain standing when others fall. They will be the ones who still have their integrity when others have traded theirs away. They will be the ones who, when everything is stripped away, still have what matters most: faith, truth, and the knowledge that they did not bow, did not break, did not surrender to the pressure that took so many others down. That is why the decision must be made now. That is why the cost must be counted before the price is demanded. Because when the time comes, there will be no room for second guessing, no time for hesitation, no space for uncertainty. There will only be the choice: stand or fall, remain or conform, hold firm or compromise. And that choice will not be easy. It will not be popular. It will not come without consequence. But the ones who are willing to pay the cost, the ones who understand that truth is worth more than approval, that faith is worth more than comfort, that purpose is worth more than acceptance, those are the ones who will endure. Those are the ones who will make it through when others give up. Those are the ones who will walk in the kind of strength that does not come from human ability, but from the unshakable confidence of knowing that they chose what was right, no matter the cost. There is a refining process that takes place when pressure is applied. It is not comfortable, not easy, not something that anyone naturally desires, but it is necessary. Because nothing remains pure without being tested, nothing remains strong without being challenged, nothing remains unshakable without being put through the fire. And that fire is coming. It is not something that can be avoided, not something that can be pushed aside, not something that only applies to some and not to others. It is the process through which everything that is weak, everything that is temporary, everything that is not built to last will be stripped away. And that process is not about punishment, it is about purification. It is about revealing what is real, what is genuine, what is truly rooted in what cannot be moved. Because when pressure is applied, when the fire burns hot, when the testing comes, everything that is not strong enough will break. And only what is unshakable will remain. That is why the ones who have been standing in comfort, the ones who have never had to make hard choices, the ones who have never had their faith tested, will find themselves struggling when the refining begins. Because it is easy to claim strength when there is no pressure. Easy to say that faith is unshakable when it has never been shaken. Easy to assume that convictions will hold when they have never been challenged. But when the pressure is applied, when the fire is turned up, when the weight of standing for truth becomes heavier than ever before, that is when what is real is revealed. And many will not be ready. Many will not have prepared. Many will have built something that looks strong but has no real foundation. And when the testing comes, they will see just how fragile it really was. They will see just how much of what they thought was unmovable was actually built on convenience, on comfort, on an easy road that required no sacrifice. And when that comfort is removed, when that easy road disappears, when standing for truth requires real endurance, they will not know what to do. Because refining exposes what was hidden. It brings to the surface what was beneath. It forces everything into the light. And the ones who have relied on the approval of others, who have built their faith on popular opinion, who have only stood for truth when it cost them nothing, will find that they do not have the endurance to withstand the pressure. Because endurance is not developed in ease. Strength is not built in comfort. Conviction is not solidified in moments of peace. Those things are forged in the fire, in the difficulty, in the moments when everything is on the line. That is why preparation is necessary. That is why standing firm must begin now. Because when the testing comes, there will be no time to build a foundation. There will only be what has already been established. And those who have spent their time looking for an easy road, for a way to avoid the cost, for a way to keep both truth and comfort, will find that those two things do not always exist together. Because truth does not always come with comfort. Truth does not always come with applause. Truth does not always come with ease. Sometimes it comes with opposition. Sometimes it comes with rejection. Sometimes it comes with a refining fire that burns away everything that is not real. And only those who have already chosen to stand, who have already counted the cost, who have already decided that they will not bow, not compromise, not surrender to the pressure, will make it through that fire without breaking. And that fire will separate, it will divide, it will make clear the difference between those who were truly committed and those who were only committed when it was easy. It will expose the difference between those who were willing to stand no matter what and those who only stood when there was no resistance. And when that separation happens, when that refining takes place, the ones who remain will be the ones who were always meant to endure. But endurance is not accidental. It is not something that just happens. It is something that is built, something that is cultivated, something that must be intentionally strengthened every single day, because the fire is coming. And when it does, it will not ask whether someone is ready. It will not wait for them to feel strong enough. It will not give them time to prepare. It will simply reveal what is already there. That is why the time to prepare is now. That is why strength must be built now. That is why conviction must be solidified now, because refining is not something that can be avoided. It is part of the process, part of the journey, part of what it means to stand for truth in a world that does not want truth to stand. And those who are not ready, those who have not prepared, those who have spent their time trying to avoid the fire instead of being strengthened for it, will find themselves struggling when the refining begins. Because refining does not just remove what is weak, it strengthens what remains. It does not just burn away what is temporary, it fortifies what is eternal. It does not just expose what is lacking, it builds what is needed. And the ones who understand that, the ones who embrace that process, the ones who see the fire not as something to be feared, but as something that purifies, will be the ones who come out stronger, who come out refined, who come out with a faith that cannot be shaken. And that kind of faith, that kind of endurance, that kind of unshakable strength is not developed overnight. It is not built in a moment. It is cultivated in the small decisions, in the daily choices, in the commitment to stand for truth even when it would be easier to compromise. Because every decision to stand strengthens resolve. Every moment of resistance builds endurance. Every refusal to bow, to bend, to surrender to the pressure prepares for what is coming. And when it comes, when the refining fire begins, when the separation takes place, those who have built their strength in the quiet moments, those who have trained themselves to endure, those who have chosen to stand every single day, no matter the cost, will be the ones who remain. They will be the ones who, when everything else falls away, still have what is real. They will be the ones who come out of the fire stronger than before, with a faith that has been tested, with a foundation that has been proven, with a confidence that has been refined by the very thing that was meant to break them. And those who endure, those who make it through, those who refuse to be moved by the pressure, by the opposition, by the weight of standing for truth in a world that does not want truth, will be the ones who see the fulfillment of everything they stood for. They will be the ones who, after everything has been stripped away, still have their faith intact, their convictions unbroken, their purpose unshaken. They will be the ones who understand that the fire was not meant to destroy them, but to strengthen them. Not meant to consume them, but to refine them. Not meant to take something away, but to reveal what was always meant to remain. And in that moment, when everything is made clear, when the refining has done its work, when what is true is all that is left standing, those who endured will know that it was worth it. They will know that every decision to stand firm, every choice to refuse compromise, every moment of pressure that they withstood was not for nothing. Because what they have gained, what they have built, what they have become through the refining is stronger, purer, and more unshakable than anything they could have achieved by taking the easy road. That is why endurance matters. That is why preparation is essential. That is why standing firm cannot wait for the moment of testing, but must begin long before. Because when the fire comes, when the refining begins, when everything that is weak is stripped away, only those who have chosen to stand will remain. Only those who have built their strength in the quiet places will be ready. Only those who have already counted the cost, already embraced the process, already committed to truth, no matter the price, will make it through without breaking. There is a moment of decision that comes for everyone. A moment where there is no more room to be neutral, no more space to stand in between, no more option to remain undecided. It is a moment where everything that has been believed, everything that has been stood for, everything that has been claimed to be true is put to the ultimate test. And in that moment, hesitation is not an option. There is no waiting for a more convenient time. No standing on the sidelines. No watching from a distance. There is only one choice: to stand or to fall, to fight or to surrender, to remain in truth or to be swept away by the pressure to conform. That moment does not come announced. It does not arrive with warning signs or a schedule. It comes suddenly, unexpectedly, in a way that forces an immediate response. It does not give time to prepare, does not allow for last-minute decisions, does not wait for the comfort of certainty. And when it comes, the only thing that matters is what has already been established, the foundation that has been built, the convictions that have been formed, the strength that has been developed. Those are the only things that will determine the outcome. And many will not be ready. Many will think they have more time. Many will believe that they can wait until the pressure arrives before they decide where they truly stand. But that is not how it works. When the moment comes, it is too late to prepare. It is too late to decide. It is too late to strengthen what has not already been strengthened. Because in that moment, the decision is not made, it is revealed. It is shown for what it has always been. It is exposed in the way a person responds when the pressure is applied, when the fire is turned up, when standing for truth suddenly carries a cost that cannot be avoided. And that cost will be high, it will not be small, will not be something that can be ignored, will not be something that only affects a few. It will demand everything. It will require sacrifice. It will separate those who are truly committed from those who only claim to be. It will make clear the difference between those who built their lives on something solid and those who built on what was easy, what was comfortable, what required nothing of them. And when that separation happens, when the weight of the moment comes crashing down, there will be no middle ground left to stand on, because the time of standing in between is coming to an end. The time of blending in, of going unnoticed, of avoiding the difficulty of choosing a side is running out. The world is shifting, the pressure is increasing, the divide is becoming clearer, and those who have spent their lives trying to avoid making a decision, trying to stay neutral, trying to hold on to both truth and comfort at the same time, will find that they can no longer do so, because truth and comfort do not always go together. Conviction and ease do not always walk hand in hand. And there will come a time when standing for what is right means letting go of everything that once felt safe. And that time is near. The signs are all around. The world is growing more hostile to truth, more opposed to anything that does not conform, more resistant to anything that does not fit into the ever-changing definitions of what is acceptable. And that hostility is not going to fade. It is not going to weaken. It is going to increase. It is going to press harder. It is going to force decisions that many thought they would never have to make. And when that pressure comes, it will not just be external. It will come from every direction. It will come from society, from systems, from institutions that demand compromise. It will come from the voices that call for tolerance but refuse to tolerate truth. It will come from those who once seemed like allies but will not stand when the cost becomes too high. And for many, it will even come from those closest to them, from friends who do not understand, from family who do not agree, from people they once trusted who will not be willing to walk the same path when the moment of decision arrives. And that moment will not just test what a person believes, it will test how deeply they believe it. It will test whether their faith was real or just something they claimed. It will test whether their convictions were rooted in something unshakable or only held onto because it was easy. Because when everything is on the line, when standing firm means losing things that once seemed secure, when refusing to compromise comes with real consequences, that is when what is true is made known. And many will walk away. Many will decide that the cost is too great. Many will choose the path of least resistance, the road that allows them to keep what they have, the option that lets them avoid the hardship of standing alone. They will convince themselves that compromise is wisdom, that blending in is strategy, that avoiding conflict is the right thing to do. But in doing so, they will lose the very thing they were trying to protect. Because there is no safety in compromise when truth is at stake. There is no security in surrender when the battle is between what is right and what is wrong. And those who stand will feel the weight of it. They will feel the loneliness of it. They will feel the full force of a world that does not want them to remain firm. But they will also know that they have chosen the only path worth walking, because there is no victory in surrender. There is no peace in compromise. There is no fulfillment in walking away from what is true. And when the dust settles, when the moment of decision has passed, when everything that is weak has been shaken, only those who stood will remain. And they will know that it was worth it. They will know that every struggle, every moment of pressure, every difficulty they endured was not for nothing. Because truth is not something that bends to pressure. It does not change with culture. It does not disappear when it becomes inconvenient. It remains. It stands. And those who build their lives on it, those who refuse to let go of it, those who choose to stand for it even when it costs them everything, will find that in the end, they have lost nothing that truly mattered. And that is why now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to strengthen what must be strong. Now is the time to let go of everything that is not built to last, because the moment of decision is coming, and when it arrives, there will be no time left to get ready. There will only be the foundation that has already been laid, the convictions that have already been formed, the strength that has already been built. And those who have spent their time preparing, who have chosen to stand long before the pressure required it, who have counted the costs and decided that truth is worth more than comfort, will be the ones who remain unshaken when everything else is falling apart. And those who remain will not regret their decision. They will not look back and wish they had chosen differently, because in that moment, when the battle is over, when the testing is complete, when everything that was false has been exposed for what it truly was, they will know that they made the only choice worth making. They will know that what they stood for was not just an idea, not just a belief, not just a personal conviction. It was the only thing that was ever truly real. And when all is said and done, when everything else has passed away, when all that remains is what was unshakable from the very beginning, they will know that standing firm was the only decision that ever truly mattered. There comes a point when everything that has been said, everything that has been warned about, everything that has been prepared for must finally be faced. It is no longer just a concept, no longer just a possibility, no longer something that can be put off for another day. It is real, it is here, and now. There is no turning back. The moment that has been spoken about, the moment that has been anticipated, the moment that has been felt approaching for so long, is no longer in the distance, it is upon us. And in this moment there are no more illusions, no more excuses, no more delays. There is only what is true and what is not, only what is strong and what is weak, only what is built to endure and what was never meant to last. And this is not a time to be afraid. It is not a time to shrink back. It is not a time to question whether standing firm is worth it. Because everything that has been endured up until this point, everything that has been sacrificed, everything that has been fought for was not in vain. Every trial, every hardship, every moment of resistance has only been preparation for this. Every struggle has only been a refining process. Every challenge only an opportunity to grow stronger. Every difficulty only a test that has shaped and fortified the ones who were always meant to endure. And endurance is everything. Because the ones who endure, the ones who refuse to be moved, the ones who stand firm no matter what the cost, will see the fulfillment of everything they have held on to for so long. They will see that the fire did not destroy them, that the storm did not sweep them away, that the battle did not break them. They will see that even when everything around them was shifting, even when the world was pressing them to conform, even when the opposition was stronger than ever, they remained. And they will know that standing was the right choice. They will know that refusing to compromise was worth it. They will know that no matter what was lost along the way, what they have gained is far greater than anything they could have held on to by surrendering. Because nothing worth having comes without a price. Nothing worth standing for comes without opposition. Nothing that truly matters is ever easy. And those who thought that the road would always be smooth, those who believed that commitment would never be tested, those who assumed that they could hold on to truth without ever facing resistance, have come to see that was never the case. Because truth is always challenged. It is always opposed. It is always attacked. But truth remains. No matter how strong the opposition, no matter how heavy the pressure, no matter how much the world tries to silence it, truth does not change. It does not bow. It does not disappear simply because people refuse to acknowledge it. It remains, and those who stand in it remain as well. And that is why the ones who endure will not be shaken. That is why the ones who stand firm will not be moved, because their foundation is not in something temporary, not in something that bends to culture, not in something that only lasts when times are easy. Their foundation is in what cannot be changed, in what cannot be defeated, in what has been tested through time and has never failed. And because of that, they will not fail. They will not break, they will not fall when everything else is collapsing around them. And when the dust settles, when the refining process is complete, when everything that was weak has been stripped away, those who remained will see that they have gained something far greater than anything they could have lost. They will see that endurance was not just about surviving, it was about becoming stronger, becoming unshakable, becoming the kind of people who can withstand anything. And they will see that even though the road was difficult, even though the battle was long, even though the cost was great, it was all worth it. Because what is built in the fire lasts. What is strengthened through resistance does not break. What is refined through testing becomes pure. And the ones who have walked through that fire, who have stood in that resistance, who have been tested and have remained, will come out on the other side with something that no one can take from them. They will come out with something that cannot be shaken, something that cannot be removed, something that is more valuable than anything they could have imagined. And that is why the choice to stand is the only choice worth making. Because no matter how difficult it is, no matter how high the cost, no matter how much must be endured, the reward is greater than the sacrifice. The strength gained is greater than the struggle. The victory at the end is greater than anything that had to be walked through to get there. And the ones who endure will see that for themselves. They will see that they have not been abandoned, that they have not been forgotten, that they have not been fighting for nothing. They will see that everything they held on to, everything they believed, everything they refused to compromise on was worth standing for. And when that realization comes, when the moment arrives where everything that was promised is fulfilled, when the ones who remain standing finally see the purpose behind it all, there will be no doubt, no regret, no second guessing. There will only be the knowledge that it was all leading to this, that every moment of difficulty was shaping them for this. And in that moment, they will know that they have won. They will know that they have made it. They will know that standing firm was always the right choice. And so the final word is this: stand. No matter what comes, no matter how strong the opposition, no matter how much the world pushes against you, stand. Do not waver, do not compromise, do not give in to fear, because fear is temporary, but truth is eternal. The struggle is momentary, but the reward is everlasting. The pressure may feel overwhelming, but those who endure will not be defeated. And when the moment of testing is over, when the fire has done its work, when everything that can be shaken has been shaken, and only what is unshakable remains, you will see that it was all worth it. You will see that every sacrifice, every hardship, every difficult choice was leading to something far greater than you could have imagined. And you will stand on the other side, unbroken, unmovable, victorious, because the ones who endure, the ones who refuse to be moved, the ones who choose truth over comfort, conviction over compromise, faith over fear, those are the ones who will remain. Those are the ones who will see the fulfillment of everything they held on to. Those are the ones who will come out of the fire, not burned, not broken, but refined. And in that moment, they will know that they have won. They will know that they have stood for what truly mattered. They will know that they have built their lives on something that will never fall. And in that victory, there will be no more fear, no more uncertainty, no more doubt. There will only be the unshakable confidence that they have made the right choice, that they have walked the right path, that they have fought the right fight. And because of that, they will never be moved. They will never be shaken. They will never be overcome. And in the end, when all is said and done, when everything else has passed away, they will stand unshaken, unbroken, and victorious, because truth remains. And so do those who refuse to let go of it. And after March 27, 2025, I believe the pressure is going to turn up. Faith won't just be something you say, it'll be something you prove. And the proof will be in how you walk. Will you still stand when the world tells you to sit down? Will you still believe when they say, God doesn't fit here anymore? Will you still love when hate gets easier? You see, I'm not here to scare you. No, no, no. I'm here to prepare you. Because warriors don't panic when the battle comes. Warriors don't break when the storm hits. Warriors don't quit when the fire gets hotter. And make no mistake, the fire is coming. But guess what? So is the glory. So is the breakthrough. So is the victory. So after March 27, 2025, let them ask, what happened to the Christians? And let our answer be, we stood taller, we prayed harder, we loved stronger, we remained faithful. Because we know the truth, God is still on the throne. And no date, no law, no pressure, and no power on this earth will ever change that. Amen.